way, let's get into the topic. Losing is hard, winning is easy. Now, I was running outside on a Saturday morning. This was probably, from when you're hearing this, would have been a couple months ago, maybe early fall 2024. And I remember looking at the weather before I went outside because it was very windy. I opened the balcony door and you could feel the wind hitting you as soon as you open the door. And for some reason, we had like a 2 month span in 2024 in Miami where it was super windy for like 2 months straight. It was just very windy every day. And I don't know what that's about. I don't like wind. I'd rather it be raining or cold or super hot than wind because it was just windy, not even raining, just windy. And I was looking at the weather report before I went outside on this particular Saturday, and the winds were very strong winds. These are like storm level winds without the rain, which makes for a very annoying experience if you're riding a bicycle or skating or running because the wind is providing all this additional resistance, and I just don't like it. So anyway, on my way running, as I was running, I ran from west to east. So I ran east halfway through my run, then I kind of loop around and I run west on the way back on my run. So the wind was a headwind coming from the east to the west. So in other words, the first half of my run, I'm running against the wind, and it's almost like you're running uphill or you're running with a weighted vest on because the wind is blowing against you so hard. But then coming back in, the wind is behind you. Now, one thing that I read this particular morning, because I went and looked this up to find out, I read that the amount of resistance that you deal with when the wind is in your face, the amount that it slows you down, is significantly more than the amount that the wind makes you faster and helps you when the wind is behind you. In other words, on a very windy day, you lose more from having the wind hit you in the face than you gain from having the wind blowing from behind you. So it's not an equal deal. It's not like I got slowed down on the way in and then I got just equally faster on the way back. It doesn't work that way. And I could feel the strength of the wind, as I said. As soon as I got out there, I could feel it even from the balcony before I went outside. And this is not some gentle summer breeze without the rain. And I know from my experience in running outside and even riding a bicycle, which I don't do hardly at all now, but I have in the past, that wind makes this process very difficult and very uncomfortable. The good news is, as I said, I had to deal with the hard part up front and the easier part on the back end. Now, back to the metaphor I'm going to explain here in today's episode. Let's get into it. Point number one. Topic once again is losing is hard, winning is easy. Number one, losing and winning are different sides of the same coin, and that coin is called the law of inertia. What does the law of inertia state? It states that an object in motion shall remain in motion. An object not in motion shall remain not in motion until or unless acted upon by an outside force. I talked about this in episode number 2466. So when you are already in motion and doing things, it's easy to just keep doing it. That's called momentum. And when you're doing nothing and not moving yourself to action, it's easier to just keep doing nothing. That's called stagnation. We want to use everyday terms. It's easier to keep doing whatever you're already doing than it is to change the situation and do something different. And it doesn't matter what situation you're in, doing something or doing nothing. Momentum and stagnation, ladies and gentlemen, are the same energy. Just like losing and winning are the same energy. All right, they're just working in opposite directions. Same way that losing and winning are the same, doing nothing and doing a lot are the same. So this is why, as they say, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Being poor and being rich are actually the same energy because they're a way of thinking about wealth, money, resources, finances, etc. that self-perpetuates. So in other words, whichever state you're in is easier to just stay in that state than it would be to change states. It takes a lot of energy to change states. But when you're in a state, it doesn't take a lot of energy to maintain wherever you're at. It's just to stay how you are. This is the reason why many people don't grow and don't change in life, because it's easier to just stay who you are, whatever that happens to be, whether it's something you want, or something you don't want. It's easier to stay the same than it is to change. It doesn't mean you can't change. It's just easier to not change. And what have I told you about human beings? They don't think, they don't read, and what? They're lazy. People don't want to put effort into things. This is the reason people don't change, because it takes effort to change. It does not take effort to remain who you are. Remain who you are, to stay there, and you'll get older, you'll get fatter, and you'll probably get uglier, but nothing else changes, and you don't even have to try. All that happens just naturally. This is the reason why a lot of people don't grow. This is the reason why I can confidently state that most of your high school classmates, if you haven't seen them in years, they're the same person they were last time. They just, only three changes are the ones I just said. They're older, fatter, and uglier. Otherwise, they're the same person. And when I say that in a tongue-in-cheek way, but I'm not joking, and also say that as a warning that I'll spell out for you here. Make sure you're not one of the people I'm describing, because you went to high school too. All right, make sure that when one of your high school classmates hears this, they don't think or they don't get to prove that you are one of those people who just got older, fatter, and uglier, and nothing else has changed about you. Make sure you're actually growing, which means you got to actually put energy into your growth, which is why this show is called Work on Your Game. That's why the first word is work. So if you don't want to work, this is probably not the show for you. And you probably already know that. We're not even 10 minutes into this episode. So as we just said, it's easier to stay in motion than it is to stop. And when you're doing nothing, it's easier to keep doing nothing than it is to start. So momentum and stagnation, same energy. Losing and winning, same energy. And these losing and winning things are just outcomes of a competition, right? Isn't that what it is? Because if you win or lose, you're competing against something. So I won, I lost. When I was running with the wind at my back, it's like the wind was helping me. We were working together, even though again didn't compensate for what I had to go against when it was in front of my face. It was still competition either way. Good news is for me is that I won on both ends. I won going out and I won coming in on this run. The way that I won, even when the wind was hitting me in the face, was that I didn't quit when it was very difficult. And then when the wind was at my back and quote unquote helping me, I didn't ease up just because the wind was at my back. I didn't run like less hard or give less effort just because I had wind behind me. I understand that everything you do in life is, or I want you to understand, everything you do in life is some form of competition. You're always competing against something or someone, even if that something or someone is not right there in front of your face. On a daily basis, you know what you're competing against? The potential best version of yourself. Whatever that best version of yourself is, you should know what that best version is. You should have it written down, as a matter of fact. And every day you're competing against that person. That's the competition that you have. And you want to fight to catch up to them if they're already kicking your ass. And once you start to catch up to them, all you got to do is upgrade that best version of yourself into a higher level. So let's say you caught up, you make the best version of yourself to be a level 50 person, because right now you're only a level 20. So as you get closer to a level 50 person and you start to equal that best version that you created, now all you got to do is level up that best version from a 50 to a 75. Now you got to catch up to the 75. When you get close to 75, level that person up to a 100. Now you got to get up to a 100. Good news is this is not a percentage thing, so you can raise the number as high as you want. Every time you level up in your life, you want to raise the bar for what the best version of you looks like. Because if you're in business or have a career where you're earning over $100,000 a year right now, there was a time when you weren't earning that much. Maybe you were earning $30,000 or $40,000 a year, and $100,000 a year would be a great situation for you back when you were earning 40K. But now that you're earning over $100,000 a year, now you need a new bar. You got to set a higher bar. Okay, now my new bar is 200 or 500 or $1 million a year because I'm already past that previous bar. So there are times, all of you can think of these times, I would bet there was a time 5, 10, 20 years ago when you would have been extremely happy to be in the situation that you're in now. And right now, you may not be that happy to be in your current situation because you've been there before. You're already here, and you're an ambitious person, and you want to go further. So you're not that happy about it now, but you would have been happy about it 10 years ago. I'm not telling you that to tell you to stop and smell the roses. Maybe you can if you want to, but don't stop for too long because we got to keep moving. We got to compete against whoever that higher level version of you may be. And you want to fight to catch up to that person and defeat them so that you can go to the next level. It's kind of like playing a video game. At the end of every level of a video game, at least the fighting kind of games, what do you have to do? You have to beat some big bad guy, right? And if you lose to the bad guy, you got to do it again. And after you beat the bad guy at level 1, now you go through level 2, you got to beat that bad guy to move up to level 3. So that's you competing against the best version of yourself so you can move up. Okay, even if you never catch up. Let's say you set the bar for the best version of yourself to be so high that you never catch it. The fact that you're trying to catch it, if you are trying to catch it, that means you are winning the competition. Winning the competition means you're competing against the best version of yourself and you're looking to up level yourself. Because even if you set a bar that's super high that you can't reach, the fact that you're trying to get there, you're going to be getting better in the process. Even though you haven't hit the bar that you set, you're still getting better in the process. And guess what you're also doing? You're surpassing a whole lot of people who don't have this mental frame. They're just living by default, and whatever happens, happens. All right, so not trying is when you lose. When you try, you're winning something because you're making yourself better in the process of trying to get better. Even if your better is not as good as you want it to be, you're still trying to get better. And usually, in my experience, ladies and gentlemen, when you're trying to get better, you usually do. Rarely do I see someone trying to get better and not getting better, at least not for an extended period of time. You might try today and not make much progress today, but if you keep trying every day, you're going to get better somehow, some way, even by accident. If you keep trying, something's going to work. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is that losing is hard, winning is easy. Number 2, when you are losing, the hard part is just building up the energy, momentum, and the motivation to move yourself to action and to keep trying, even though you are not yet getting the desired outcome. That's the hard part of when you're losing. And again, losing is based on how you choose to look at the situation. All right, some of you listening to this right now, you may consider yourself to be losing because you're on track to only earn $250,000 this year, but your goal was $350,000. So you feel like you're losing. Whereas there's someone else out there who's earning $50,000 a year, and if they were on track to earn $250,000, they'd be jumping up, they'd be bouncing off the walls with excitement because they're very happy that they have 5x their income. So losing and winning are relative to what goals and bars you set for yourself. So when you find yourself losing, the hard part is, again, summoning the energy and the motivation to keep trying stuff, even though you're not yet getting the result. And I would guess from the people who I work with and talk to in the world that we live in today, even knowing myself, that a lot of times when we find ourselves losing, so to speak, it's not because we aren't putting in the effort and energy. It's simply because we haven't quite figured out what needs to happen in order to change that losing to winning. We don't know what to do in order to change the situation, because if we knew what to do, we would have already done it. So we're just trying to figure out, okay, let's try this, let's try that. Let's keep trying things until we find something that solves this problem. And because we haven't found anything to solve the problem, that's why we're still in the position of losing. These days, to summarize what I just said, it's not because we lack information. All right, it's because we just haven't cracked the code yet. We don't know what the code is, because if we knew the code, boom, we just punch in the numbers and we would solve the problem. But we're not there yet. And that's the hard part. The hard part is trying to find the code when we don't know what the code is, but we know there is a code. See, that's the hard part, and that's where a lot of people quit. And that's where a lot of people give up. That's where a lot of people just jump out of the game. They bow out of the game because they don't know what to do in that situation. Or they know what to do, which is keep trying different stuff till you figure it out. Or go access some resource that might have an insight that you don't have. But a lot of people aren't willing to do that. They just give up. It takes energy to do that. And we know 5 forms of investment: time, money, attention, energy, and focus. A lot of people don't want to make investments. That's why they don't get returns. Simple as that. So again, this is the period where most people quit and therefore they lose. This is a period that I refer to as the void. This is that space in between leaving where you used to be and you haven't yet gotten to where you want to be. You're not yet established there. Most people, when they find themselves in this position, they quit and go back to where they used to be because at least they know what to expect. A lot of people cannot mentally and emotionally deal with the isolation of being a man or woman without a country, so to speak. And most people, when they find themselves in a situation where it looks like they're losing, they give up so they can go back to their comfort zone of not having to compete at all. Because see, not competing at all, you can't lose. Technically, you do lose because you never tried. But many people look at it this way: well, I'm not competing, so I can't lose. The problem with not losing is that you also can't win. Trade-off of putting yourself in position to win is that you're also in position to lose. You get in a boxing match with somebody, yes, you have the opportunity and the potential to get the glory and the satisfaction of winning the fight, but you also have the potential of the embarrassment, if you will, of losing the fight, and then getting on your social media and seeing everybody talk about how you lost the fight. So this is the trade-off in life. Everything in life has a trade-off. There are no perfect scenarios. So you put yourself in a position to be wildly successful. You also put yourself in a position to wildly fail. Many people never put themselves in the position. They never align themselves with the potential of great outcomes. Therefore, the best they can do is mediocrity. So even when they do their best at the thing they position themselves for, the best they can do is be mediocre, because they never put anything on the line that will put them in position to get a wild level of success. Because people subconsciously realize that to position myself to get a wild level of success, I also got to position myself that I could possibly fail. I can come up short doing the same thing. So this is why many people stay in their comfort zones, to where there's low risk, but there's also low reward. So a lot of people don't want to compete. Again, not necessarily because they're afraid of winning, because they don't want to deal with a situation where it looks like, or it appears that they're losing, or the public sees that they're losing. Napoleon Hill laid out in his book, Think and Grow Rich, it was also on the law of success. Think and Grow Rich is derived from the law of success. He called it the 6 basic human fears. One of those human fears was the fear of ridicule. I believe that's one of the biggest ones today. Biggest thing that stops a lot of people from trying anything is the fear of ridicule. Why? Because anything that we try, it can eventually become public. It can eventually become public news. Somebody can film it. Somebody can just tell the story. If it's on the internet, somebody can copy the link and screenshot your website, whatever it is. So a lot of people don't try because they don't want to look like they are failing in front of everybody. They don't want to get the ridicule. And it stops a lot of people, especially in our heavily interconnected world, where it's so easy to take a photo or a screenshot or whatever and put it out on the internet, and a million people have seen it and don't even know the context behind it, and many of them don't care to know the context, and you're the subject of it. All right, imagine how that would affect your life. And this is what stops a lot of people from taking action today because of the world that we're in. But it's not going to stop you, right? Point number 3. We're talking here today about how losing is hard while winning is easy. Number 3, when you are winning, it's easy to keep taking action and be motivated because everything's already working. I mean, any of you ever been in a winning situation and it was hard for you to do the thing to keep the winning going? Now, you might get lazy in terms of new initiatives and doing other things, but if you know that if I push this button, we're going to keep making money, are you willing to keep pushing the button? I think anybody would just keep pushing the button. So when you're winning, it's easy to keep doing stuff and it's easy to be motivated because, again, you're getting a return on investment. You're getting positive feedback every single time you take an action because you're already winning. So it's easy to keep that going. So, for example, as I'm recording this, the NBA basketball team, Cleveland Cavaliers, have won the first 15 games of this regular season. By the time you hear this, maybe somebody has defeated them. If no one's defeated them by the time you hear this, that means they're either on the brink of or they have already surpassed the NBA record for most wins consecutively ever. That was the LA Lakers. I believe it was 1972. I might have the year wrong, but they won 33 consecutive games. No one has done that since. Only team that came close was the Miami Heat. I believe it was 2012 or 2013. They won 27 games in a row, and no one's come any closer than that since. But the Cleveland Cavaliers are 15-0 right now. And I'll tell you something about a sports team on a winning streak is that it's very easy to get everybody to show up to practice, to work hard in practice, to commit to following the team game plan and doing everything the team wants to do when everything is working. Why? Because we have positive momentum going in our favor. Everything we've been doing seems to be working, so we might as well keep doing the same thing so we can keep showing up. It's easy to show up when you're winning. Now, let's say a team is on a 15-game losing streak. And it may be a team, I don't think there's an NBA team who's 0-15, but let's say a team is on just a losing streak. It's losing over and over and over again when they're playing. when they're playing. This could be an individual, it could be a business, it could be a sports team. It's hard to get the energy in the room changed when everything you do seems to not be producing the desired outcome. This is why mental toughness and resilience matters so much in life when it comes to creating success, because all of us experience periods of our lives that I just described where no matter what we do, it still doesn't seem to be breaking the inertia of us not being where we want to be. You try 50 different things in one day and you still have not solved the problem, the one problem that you're trying to solve. It's hard to try thing number 51, 52, and 53. Many people never even make it that far, let alone do they try it. Many people will try things once, and exceptional people twice. Everybody else less than that, and they quit before they even start. All of you heard of the product called Formula 404? Formula 404, the cleaning agent. I wrote about this in my book, Work on Your Game, that you can get at workonyourgamebook.com. Formula, is it 404? I think it's 404. 409. I think it's 409, not 409. Formula 409, if I have the number right, is called that because the scientists who created it tried 408 different formulas before they found the right one that became Formula 409. They called it 409 because it was attempt number 409 to solve the problem of creating a safe home cleaning agent, which is what Formula 409 is. How many of you have ever tried something 409 times? I don't mean necessarily the exact same thing, but I mean 409 attempts to achieve an outcome. I tell the story, this is also in that same book, my book, Work on Your Game, how in 2008, I was trying to get myself back into pro basketball. I had been in, but then found myself out for basically a year from pro basketball because I just couldn't find a contract, not because anything was wrong with me. And in the fall going into the winter of 2007, this is 2007, I just sent a whole bunch of, or was it was either 7 or 8, doesn't matter. I sent a whole bunch of emails out to professional basketball teams. I tell people I sent like 10,000 emails out over the course of about 4 months. And you may be thinking, damn, you send an email to all 10,000 basketball teams in the world? And the answer is no, because there are not 10,000 professional basketball teams in the world. There are probably about, I would say worldwide, somebody could probably you could probably Google the number, but I believe it's a few hundred basketball teams in the whole world. And many of them are not open to signing an American-born player to play for their team. not because they don't like Americans, but because they may not have the budget, the infrastructure, etc. So the teams that I sent emails out to, let's just say it was 400 or 500 teams, I just sent different emails to them over and over and over again. You could call it spamming, but I didn't really spam them because what I would do is change up the subject line, I would change up the content of the emails, and just try different combinations until I was able to get a positive response from someone who said, "Hey, we are keen on making this work." And I ended up going there. That was in Montenegro, which was in early 2000, late 2007, early 2008 is when I got over there. So I'm saying all that to say this, that when things are not working, the hardest part is to keep trying. But as soon as you get something to work after it hasn't been working, now you have a little bit of momentum. It's much easier to try the next time and next time and the next time. The challenge is getting yourself from one side of the situation to the other side, which is where many people come up short. This is why the winners keep winning, losers keep losing, and eventually losers just give up. So they don't even keep losing. They just consign themselves to being a loser. So you could be losing but not be a loser. See, a loser is a person who gives up and stops trying while they're in a losing position. Losing just means you're trying, but right now you're not winning. But as long as you keep trying, you could keep yourself in the running to possibly be a winner. You can't be a winner if you're not trying. It's impossible. So having momentum on your side. All right, let me back up first. Anybody can keep showing up and doing work when everything's working. All right. Any of you ever had that situation? Of course, we all have. Challenge is getting into that position in the first place. That's the challenge. How do you get into a winning position in the first place so that you don't have to worry about moving yourself to the action of getting to winning? Let's just get there. All right. So, or how do you move yourself to the action to keep fighting and losing is a better way of saying it. So it's not bad to have momentum on your side. I think all of us can agree with that. The job is not actually any easier when you have momentum, but it feels easier because in your mind, you see the results are coming through, so you don't feel as tired. Hard work is not as hard when you're winning. Hard work is hard when you're losing. If you're running in a race and you're at the front of the race and you know everybody is trailing behind you and you're only a mile or so away, from securing the gold medal, well, it's easy to keep running. I mean, it's hard. It's fatiguing to run, but you don't really feel the fatigue because you know you're about to win that medal. But if you're in last place trying to finish the race, well, it's hard to keep running. If you're in last place so far behind, you can't even see the people in front of you. Well, it's hard to keep going. You might just quit and just walk off the course. What's the difference? Same type of energy. It takes the same energy to finish running for either person, but based on the situation and your perspective, you look at it differently, and that recruits different levels of energy from you. You see how that works? So it's not bad to have momentum on your side, but everything feels easier when it's working. So your job is to do the heavy lifting and put yourself into this winning position and then not mess it up once you get there. The heavy lifting is the third day. That's the third day. Times you don't really feel like doing it, but doing it anyway, that's the heavy lifting. So do the heavy lifting and put yourself in this position. Don't mess it up. Anyone can coast when things are working. You can coast along when things are working. Now, while I suggest that you don't coast, keep your foot on the gas even when things are working, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. It's a whole other episode, a whole other masterclass to do. First thing you got to do is break the inertia of stagnation, get yourself into the right space in the first place. Join Work on Your Game University, and I will coach you on how to do exactly that. We have a lot of material on mindset. I got a whole library worth of material in my head on mindset that I am currently getting out of my head and getting into our programs and courses inside of our university. You'll see those when you become a member. Also, being able to access me and tap my resources, my insights, etc. when it comes to your business, your game, and the way that you build yourself up, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link down below in the description. Did I recap? I keep forgetting if I recap these episodes. So let me recap this episode, which is losing is hard, winning is easy. Number one, losing and winning are different sides of the same coin of the law of inertia. When you're in motion, it's easier to stay in motion. Not in motion, easier to stay not in motion. What does that mean? Point number two, when you're losing, the hard part is recruiting and building up the energy and motivation to move yourself to action and keep trying, even though you're not yet getting the results. That's the hard part, is to keep moving even when you're losing. A lot of people give up here, so the opportunity is for you to keep trying even though everybody else gave up. And number three, when you're winning, it's easy to keep taking action to be motivated because you're winning. You can see the ROI that is coming from it. The challenge is getting yourself into the winning position in the first place. Many people lack the dedication, drive, and commitment to move themselves to enough energy to create the momentum of winning so that they can start cruising too. See, anybody can cruise when you're winning. The challenge is you got to become a winner first. How do you do that? I just gave you a formula for it here today. You got to be willing to move yourself on the third day to action. Keep trying, not allowing yourself to fall into stagnation, keeping your momentum going when it's already going, and these things start working out. And with the right information, insights, access, and coaching, then it's damn sure guaranteed. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Get me as your coach. Let's get to work. Work on your game. Dre, all